Okay, so if you're brand new to Blender, this video should help you learn the basics and get you started on your adventure to making your own 3D objects. So the first thing I'm going to do is get familiar with the layout of the screen. So if you hold down the middle mouse button, you can orbit, and if you drag, so hold middle mouse and drag. For some strange reason it doesn't show here, but you can see there I'm clicking it and then dragging and it goes off. So down here you'll see which keys I press, and then you can see the action in the screen in front. If we want to hide this window at the side for any reason, we can press the N key, just like so. Pressing the N key will then open it back up, and if you press it again we can close it. If you want to hide this panel on the left hand side, you can press the T key, so T for toolbar, and then press it again and open that back up. So once we've done that and we've learned a quick way around, we can see now how to move the camera in other ways. So we're going to hold shift and middle mouse, and we can strafe or kind of side move and up and down. So pan the camera up, down, left and right. If we hold Alt and drag, excuse me, Alt and drag with the middle mouse button, we can flip between these orbit positions, these camera locations. We can also click here and do the same thing. This yields the same result. So if you click on X minus and then click on X again, it will go to X plus. If you click on X again, it goes to X minus. Now another way of doing that is the numpad on the right side of your keyboard. You can press 1, 3, you can press 2, 7, 8, 9 and 0, which will center the camera on the object. Go to orthographic view there, but we don't want to be in orthographic view. So press 1, come out of that, middle mouse button, drag around. Now in the center of the screen, just here, we have this little red and white thing. It looks like one of those floats that you'd throw in the water to save your friend, or not, depending on your personal choice. If you hold shift and right click, you'll be able to move that around in real time to a location that you want. Now this object here excuse me, this object here is called a 3D cursor, and this 3D cursor is the position in the world space in your grid. So wherever this 3D cursor is wherever you'll spawn an object or a mesh or a curve, whatever it is you want to spawn. This will be the location. So we're going to press shift and C to center this back to the very middle, which is going to be world position 0, 0, 0. You can see also if we click here and then click, left click, we can even drag it around. So I'm going to click on top left, and then we're going to bring in our first object. So shift C, center that back in, and now we're going to spawn in or load in an object. So we're going to hold shift and press A, and we can see we have our add window. At the top we have mesh, so we're going to add a simple plane to our scene. Once we've added a plane to our scene, we're going to go into edit mode. It's all good and fine being in object mode, but we can't make any changes to our mesh unless we're in edit mode. So we're going to click up here and press edit mode. The other way to get to it would be to press the tab key, just like so. Object mode, edit mode, tab key. Now the mesh is made up of vertices, edges and a face. So this face is made up of 4 points that make a square shape, and we can manipulate these into creating objects. So if we press 1, 2 or 3 on the keyboard, so 1 would be vertices, which is what we're on now, 2 would be edges, and 3 would be face. So now I have the face selected. If we press E and the Z key, we can then move this. We press the Z key once more. We can then move this in a locked axis to create a cube. Once we've done that, we can then press the I key to inset that face and move that inwards. We can then press the E key again, and we can press drag the mouse down, sorry, to make a hole in the top of our cube. Now it's all very simple stuff. It's all good basic knowledge to have. The important thing is, if for any reason, so let's go back a few steps by pressing Ctrl Z. If for any reason you scale this up and then you try to, so you press S and drag your mouse. For any reason you scale this up, let me do that again just in case. So you're going to press S and drag. You can hold Ctrl to snap to those squares on your grid. So if you scale this up and then you try to inset the face, you're going to get a bit of a mixed result, because what happens is it still thinks that it's the original size. So if you were to apply a modifier to this, which are down here, this little wrench icon, if you were to apply a modifier to this when you scale it up, it won't work properly. So then we go to another menu where we select our object and we press Ctrl and A, and we can reset the rotation scale to its current size. Over on this panel here, we have our scale, our rotation, and our location. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. If we scale this up and then rotate the object and then move its position, and then we go into edit mode and press I to inset this face, it looks okay. It probably most likely is, but if we were to then press E and then press Z and Z to move this down, I'll actually do Z once. Let's go back, press E, let's move this down. So it's doing it in its local space, not global. And then we were to try to bevel these edges, so we're going to press 2, select these edges, Control and B. You'll notice that it's not quite right. So these are a bit too large and a bit offset. So what we want to do is go back to the beginning, and whenever we make a scale change to our object, let's say we want it to be this big, we want to then Control A and set rotation scale. Now you'll notice here that we've currently got 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then you've got scale. Let's move this out a little bit. 3.3, 3.3, 3.3. If we Control A and set rotation scale, we've now reset its scale to 1, 1, 1. So this is now its default size, its default rotation, and its default location. If we want this to be default rotation upwards in a vertical position, we can do R, Y, 9, 0, and then we have 90. If we then can do Control A and set rotation scale, this is now our default rotation, 0, 0, 0. When you're using modifiers, so let's do tab mode, go into edit, I to inset. Excuse me, let's have a quick drink. So I to inset, and then we're going to press Alt E, extrude faces along normals. I'm going to bring that in. So let's say, for example, we want to bevel all of these edges. We're going to add a modifier to it. So we're going to go to Add Modifier, General, and then Bevel. And we can see here we have beveled edges, but we can make it look a little bit better. I'm going to go down to Geometry, to Miter Outer, and then change to Arc. Just gives it a little bit nicer edge. We can then increase the amount of segments. Now the segments are what makes up your edge. So currently it's set as a 1 segment edge. So there's only 1 segment all the way around. If we set this to 2, it's now got 2 sections that make up this segment or your edge. if we set that to 3, and then we can hold shift and drag, we can decrease the size of that edge, give it a nice shape, and it just makes it look better. So without and with gives us a bit of nice light caught on those edges. So we're going to go to the top here and then go down to cavity, and we'll turn on as well. Let's do shadows, and we'll set screen to both, bring up valleys, bring up the valley at the bottom for screen space, and ridge a little bit there so we can see kind of what we're working with. So if I get rid of these again, you can see there the edges are very flat, very basic. If I turn that on, we get this nice rounding. Now what we can do is right click and shade smooth, and we get this really nice shaded smoothed edge. We can then add a couple of loop cuts, oops, here, and to do that we're going to do, let's go back one, let's do that again. So we'll go to segments, let's bring that down a little bit, there we go. So then what we can do is we can shade smooth that or auto smooth it, and that looks fine as it is. Okay, so another thing we can do as well by modeling objects is you can, especially for games, anything that the player can see. So let's select these edges here. So we're going to go into edit mode, go to edge selection, and then hold Alt and left click, press E, X, and move this back, just like so, and then press F to fill. So let's just say, for example, you have an object that's going to be sitting directly on a wall. Now to simulate that wall, let's add another mesh and do another plane. Let's scale this up and then press R, Y, 90. Let's move this back, G and X. So let's say, for example, this is going in your game and it's some kind of weird 3D picture frame or whatever, square on a wall. You can see here that we've got this mesh, press G and X to move it out, has faces that are going to be rendered by the GPU in Unreal Engine or Unity, whatever it is you're using. So anything that the player can't see, so press 3 for face selection, press X, we can then remove it with this menu. So let's get rid of that face. So then when we select our object and press G and X, we can move that back, and then it's not going to render anything on this object that's not visible because there's nothing there for it to render. Just like so. So now A, it's a little bit easier for unwrapping, and B, it's better for performance overall in the long run. So that's that done. Let's do something else. So let's press delete. So let's add in a cylinder. So we're going to go Shift A, Mesh, and then go to Cylinder. And if we zoom in on our cylinder, we can see it's got a top and a bottom face, and it's got all of these faces that make up the smoothness for the round surface. Now, if we were to apply a modifier to this, we can break it. So let's do Control 2, and you can see here, yeah, it doesn't look too great. The reason why is because it's got no edge support. There's no loops supporting those edges, so it collapses on itself. So if we were to increase this, you can see, yeah, I mean, it's probably a cool shape for maybe a pumpkin or something, but it just doesn't look that great. So let's remove our subdivisions, and we're going to select this top face. I'm going to select the bottom face. I'm going to press X and get rid of faces. Then we're going to press 2. We're going to select our outer rim, Alt left click. We're going to press E and S and scale that in. Press 1. We're going to right click, merge vertices at center. We're going to press 2, Alt left click on this outer edge. hold Control, press B, slowly with Shift held, pull the mouse out to the right or the left, depending on how far you've gone. Let's move Control Z, let's move in a bit closer. I'm going to hold Control and B and move the mouse out. It's going to add a nice supporting edge loop just here with two edges. And what we can do, instead of doing the same thing over again, we know this is Z plus and we know this is Z minus. We're in a 3D space, so we have a plus and a minus for all of our axis points. Z is up and Z is also down. So we can press A to select all of our mesh. We can go to Mesh. We can go down to Symmetrize. Just here we have a little box called Symmetrize, and we want to swap this. So it's Z, where is it? There is Z plus to Z minus. Now if we go down and look, not only has it added our edge loops, but it's also added our face. If we now go and apply a modifier to this to make it nice and smooth, so it looks good, it's got lots of vertices to work with for things like sculpting. If we left click on it and press Ctrl 2, you'll notice that it doesn't collapse on itself anymore, because you now have good overall faces for your cylinder. So you've got a really nice smooth surface. Left click, right click, shade smooth. So let's move on. Another thing we can do to make things like cables, maybe plug sockets, cables, wires, over connecting cables, telephone wires, power cables, anything like that, is we can do Shift A. There's a few ways to do it, so I'll show you a couple. We can start with a single vert, or we can use a plane. So we'll do the single vert method first. So let's go to, where's it gone? Mesh, single vert, add a single vert. Now you'll notice there's a little tiny orange dot. I'll move it up a bit. There's a little orange dot. It doesn't want to, there it is, okay. So there's our little orange dot. And we have one line connecting them. Stop pressing the wrong buttons. Come on, Andy. Right, so we're in edit mode. Let's get rid of our vertices. Let's get rid of our vert. Right, so we're gonna Shift A, add. I'm gonna go single vert, add a single vertex. Press E and Z to move it up. And then we can right click. So let's go to object mode. We're gonna right click and convert to curve. Press tab. Select it. Alright, it's gone missing. Let's try that again. This is why I don't do live streams. We're going to go to a plane. So let's do Shift A, plane, press tab, press 1, right click, merge at center, press E, Z, and move it up. There we have a vertice and a vertice. If we select them both, we can see down at the bottom we have 2 of 2 vertices selected. We're going to go into object mode, so tab key, right click, and then we're going to go convert to a curve. We're going to go Control A, rotation scale set. We're going to go down here to what looks like a little pair of headphones. These 2 vertice connections. This is your data panel. We're going to scroll down until we see geometry. Just here. I'm going to click on it, scroll down until we see bevel and depth, and we're going to set this to 8, and then we're going to hold Shift and drag, and we can see here that we create the cylinder. And the good way of doing it this way is that, let's say for example we want a cable or a pipe or whatever to go from A down here. Let's go to object mode. So we want to go from A here. To do that, just hold left click and you'll get the selection box up. We're going to go from A to B, but let's say up here. There's a couple of ways we can do it. We can make a couple of objects. So let's spawn in a cube. just like so. This is point A. And let's place another one. Oops. So Shift D, Z and drag, G, X and move. Okay. We're going to go and Shift S, cursor to selected. We can do this in object mode. And then we're going to go into edit mode. So select our plane that we converted into a curve. Press tab. Select our vertex at the top, just this one. Press Shift S, and then we want our selection to go to cursor, just like so. So now we have point A to point B, whereas instead of having to do it this way, trying to move it into the right position, we can just do Shift S, selection. Then if we want this to look like more of a cable, we can select point A and point B. We can right click and then subdivide. We can then do Shift R, which repeats last function. So anything that you just did, if you press Shift R, you'll do it again. So we can do that one more time as well. So now we have multiple vertices. And then we can press 3, or should I say 1. We can then select one of these and we can manipulate and pull them into the places that we want them to go to. Just like so. And then if we go up into object mode, select it and press Ctrl 2, we can have this cable running from A to B. Really easy to set up, very, very simple. Now that concludes this video, but I'll be doing another part and then I'll be doing another part after that. So probably around 5 parts in a little series where we'll go over different modeling techniques, different ideas, and eventually fully modeling an object together. And if you have Substance Painter as well, I'll potentially as well go into Substance Painter and go over some tips and tricks on there to add some details to your models. So I hope you like it. I hope it was informative. I hope you found some of it useful. If you want to help support the channel, you can by liking it, subscribing to the channel to help support it grow. I have a huge amount of free objects, assets that you can download over on Sketchfab. I'll soon be moving over to Fab as well when it changes. But yeah, so like, share it with others and subscribe to help me out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and bye bye for now.